Welcome everybody to the third episode already of season 2 of the Queens and Sneakers show. Again, we are in the studio of Havia. So Havia, thank you for having us. And we're having 2 beautiful guests again today. Some ladies who have been in the industry for quite some years, who have a lot to share, with a lot of knowledge that we all can learn a lot from, with some interesting shoes on their feet. So let's get it away. First of all, of course, March is here, lady in pink.
Yeah.
And a nice suit of Stussy. We have Llalla and we have Ania. And we always start with the question, who are you and what do you have on today? Ania?
So I'll go first. I'm Ania Markham. I am a Londoner that's been living here in Amsterdam for 20 years now. What am I? My day job is, I'm a partner at the Panics, which is a film production company. So I am essentially a producer and I create different kinds of film projects for brands such as Adidas, Nike in the past. So I've still got a little finger in the industry. And I guess I'm here because of my past and my involvement in all things subcultural in London. So, and do I need to talk about my shoes?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I thought I would mix it up and wear these blazers. They are used, which I know will upset some people, but I've reached that age where I'm wearing my my shoes. So these are the Boneyard project, which are from 2008. They're nothing to do with London, they're from LA. And I wore them because of the subcultural references. So they're basically a collaboration between 3 designers, Fraser Cook from London, Paul Mittelman from Stussy, and, got to get his name right, Shinsuke Takizawa from Neighborhood in Japan. And so it's basically representing surf culture, skate culture, and a bit of punk. And I thought we would let these old ladies come out, I think they're ladies, come out and be seen in the rain.
Sweet.
So that's what I'm wearing today.
So what year are them?
Sorry?
What year are
2008.
these? Okay.
Yeah. So I kept them in a box for, actually, I'm lying. You see, I would like to pretend that I bought them, but they were gifted to me by Jason Fulton, who Marcia knows. Who's another sneakerhead from London who's been here as long as I have. And he had them, and then he wasn't loving them as much as I was coveting them. So then they came to me, and then I kept them in a box. And now they have to be worn because as we get older, they all sit in a box and they cry. Or, as I told Carmen, some of them disintegrate from the weather.
That's the thing.
So I've had some trainers that I've pulled out, and they've completely fallen apart, which is heartbreaking.
Because these are still soft and
yeah, these are still good. These are
blazers live forever.
Yeah,
I really do feel like it's indestructible.
yeah.
But which size are you then?
I've got massive feet.
Yeah, because Jason's like 43.
Yeah, I've got 42 and a half, which is another reason why I've always worn sneakers, because yeah, in London, I think here I'm average height. In London I was tall and I couldn't wear a lot of shoes, but trainers were my thing. So yeah, and having sample size shoes, Marcia, is very, very useful.
Nice.
sweet.
So.
Thank you. Llalla, all the way from Paris.
Yes, in this horrible weather. So I'm Llalla, I'm 41. Do I have to tell my age? Oh well.
Oh, you already did.
All right.
Well, you know what,
This
to make
is
you feel
done.
better, you're 41, I'm 49.
Okay.
So we'll do
All right.
that.
No, I never feel bad about my age, to be honest. I'm a high school teacher. I've been recently working as a university teacher as well. I teach English to French kids in Paris. I've been working for 13 years in the suburb, and now I'm in Paris. And I've been consuming shoes for the past 30 years now. And what am I wearing today? I'm wearing Air Dry Goat ACG from 2000. I picked these guys because I think it's a nice mix of what I like today. I love bubbles and I love ACG stuff. So, and they're Gore-Tex, and I figured Amsterdam and Gore-Tex is a good
A good match.
too. So that's that. They're actually falling apart. They started to die now. So, I mean, it is what it is. That's what you were saying about shoes dying in boxes.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than you keep them safe, you
I
pull them
know.
out. So yeah, they're good they're being worn.
But now I'm just wearing everything. If it dies, it dies. I'm just wearing everything. My entire collection now is like a cemetery. I was telling Selwa about it. It's like a graveyard now.
Oh.
80% of what I have is dead or dying. So it is what it is.
Are you still keeping them?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
So
And I'm very anti soul swapping stuff too.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
I don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
When it's dead, it's dead.
But you can find a proper sole that would fit, at least
Oh,
not the same one, right? No.
No. I mean, I really don't know how it would be replaceable, but even though I won't do it.
Why wouldn't you soul swap?
Because I feel like it's putting, you know, an old, I mean, a young face on an old body. It's just weird to me. I don't know. I'm not into surgery stuff, so it's just too odd.
I feel
Really,
you.
really odd.
And did you buy these second hand or vintage somewhere?
They were secondhand, but from quite a long time ago.
They're still,
Yeah.
like, I can't tell from here that they're falling apart. They
I
still
know.
look
I
very
mean, it's
fresh.
it's pretty subtle. It's still holding, but it's yeah.
Yeah, you can feel.
They were good this morning, and then this is what happens.
And why did you bring these out today? Oh yeah, you said so already.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. The weather.
I remember once me and my friend, she was wearing also, I think it was like some sort of vintage Prestos. And we were walking out, it was really nice weather in Amsterdam, nice weather. But her shoe fell apart when we were walking and we weren't near any like public transport or anything. So I think we were in my office, we literally like scotch taped them together so she could
that's
walk.
what you do. It happened to me
Yeah,
a
but
lot
that's
of
the press-
times.
Yeah, that's the Presto, so that's the heartbreaking thing with the Prestos. If you hold on, oh God. But that's yeah, the Prestos, and I had some woven HTM chucker boots, which I'd really, really looked after, and they disintegrated. So anything, yeah, Prestos with the cage. I don't know if that's what happened to her, that it just kind of...
No, it was the whole sole came
Oh,
off.
so,
So she couldn't walk anymore. She had
Oh.
one good shoe and the other one was like taped up. It was really funny.
Yeah, you can always save them with a plastic bag too.
Yeah.
yeah.
And just go back home.
That's good. Maartje, what are you wearing today?
Oh, these actually been glued together a couple times as well.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yeah, especially here.
Oh, the
Oh, okay, I
the-
didn't know they
yeah.
would fall apart on this part.
And
Okay.
and I think here in the middle as well. They're really, I mean, they're quite old. I don't know which year they were. I bought them secondhand as well for a very good steal. And the midsole has been repainted a couple times. They look trashed, but I thought they looked nice and tacky with my pink suit.
No, they don't look
Very
trash.
girly with the leopard print. So, yeah, that's why.
Nice.
And we're on like an Air Max 1 craze here.
Yeah, even the one that's not an Air Max 1 fan, but then I was very vocal about, I've always been vocal about Air Max 1s, but I always love shoes for, well, I like style and clothing for stories, and the campaign of the wave just got me. Because it's shot in London, it's shot here, the whole story, I was like, yeah. So when the opportunity came, I had to thank one of the godfathers, like, yes, please. So I'm wearing my waves, and I think they're very cute. And I heard it's a good mom shoe because they're very comfortable, and since my belly is growing, I figured this is nice. But it's also because I was wearing these, because we know Ania has a lot to tell about these, and I've been saying every episode that I have a few pairs and I still want to wear them, but I don't know how to style them with my tall self. But then Llalla said, no, you're wearing Nike and Reebok.
Yeah, that's
I can't
a good
look at that.
point.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
Yeah,
that's-
that's a big no-no.
yeah, for a lot of people, yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah, I agree. It's
What about it? Why can't we do that?
I don't know. It's just too. It's too.
lazy.
It's. I don't know.
It's just like you just got.
I can't.
Yeah, there's
I
rules.
just can't. It's crazy.
It's these unwritten rules, right, which you
I
live
know.
by.
But you said something interesting when we had a briefing yesterday. You told me a story about that you were doing your sports and you were transferred to that other neighborhood and where the teams were wearing like one brand head to toe, so that you were very drilled in, you know,
Yeah.
it always has to be.
Yeah, but that's, I guess, when I started getting into, and I'm going to keep calling them trainers because that's a London and a generational thing. I was 14, 15 and I was doing athletics, and this is London in the mid-80s, late 80s, when hip-hop started coming over from New York. And one of the teams that I was training with in North London, it was all about appearance and intimidating the other teams. And so there was a freshness in how you dressed, and it had to be, well, at that point it was Nikes, everything. But then I also remember a phase of it being Adidas, and we used to have these like toweling, almost like furry tracksuits that zipped up. I mean, it was really, yeah, it was very regimented, and there were rules, and you know, otherwise you just didn't look like you had it together. I can't explain it. But it stayed, and the crossing of the brands was just, no, you just didn't do that.
Yeah.
I think if I really think about why it was like that, I think it was always the team's intention to come across as if we were sponsored.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
and
as well.
there was no way we were going to be sponsored because we were just, you know, a team of teenagers. But if you wore all the gear and it looked right, then you looked sponsored, so you represented. So I think that's probably what it was at the core of it.
I played football, not like professionally, but at some level at some point, and then the teams who had to play again also had sponsored socks. So the whole kit, including the socks, was like fresh and clean with the logos and the brands on it, and we had a sponsored shorts, but then the socks we just had to get them ourselves somewhere, and then it did make a difference indeed. You know, when you wear your tracksuit and then your whole kit, including the socks, or some even the shoes, it's like, oh wow, then you know, you must be serious, you must be good.
But we were things. It makes it sound so pathetic, but it was such a different time, and some things like, all of us coveted naf, which you had in Paris.
Oh, yes.
In London, it was just like way beyond anything anybody could afford. And I remember desperately wanting to have in my outfit, I think I was probably about 16, a red corduroy naf baseball cap, but I couldn't afford it. I remember like buying a red corduroy hat and embroidering naf on there. You know, we would go to such lengths to kind of be able to have those brands. Yeah, it was very, very difficult to get hold of stuff. So it really was about knowing where to go, who to know. It wasn't, you couldn't just go online and find the brand you needed. So you either find it or make it, fake it.
I'm always amazed at how naf was popular.
Yeah. Oh God,
outside of France.
It was
just crazy.
It was
London.
popular here too.
I know. The whole Europe, even in the US, I'm like, what, naf? Really? You know, it's like, I mean, it was big when I was young too, but today it's a disaster. I'm like, how can you even be? No?
Do you write it double F at the end?
No, NAF, NAF.
No, it was
never heard of it.
And chippy.
Before my CP, naf, chevignon, all this stuff.
And you had to have the pin roll jeans, you know,
so
so you did
big.
the pin tuck. With
I do know
pace.
pin roll. Roll.
So that would be, so it's a real kind of, it was like a ragga, we used to say ragga look. Had nothing to do with dance hall, it's just raggas.
Generation gap here.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. What was like in fashion at certain times and then like.
But it really only lasted when I was in junior high. Then it totally died. It was hyped for like what, 4 years, and then that was it.
Yeah, it was short and sweet.
Very short.
Sweet. We had a little talk about, like, you know, a briefing about the show, and I called you, Ania, and then I was like, oh yeah, and these drops, and everybody's on the wave now, and tomorrow's Sneakerness is on, and we're going to be in a panel picking like the best sneaker of the year. And then I saw a lot of hyped sneakers being in there, quote unquote hyped. But then I was like, oh yeah, with the social media and so many launches and so many drops and resale and all these things, getting a sneaker now is different from getting a sneaker back in the day. You said that you mainly wear retros, right? How was it back in the day how did you cop or buy a sneaker? Because now you go online, you win a raffle, you buy one on resale, you know somebody that works in the shop, and if you're lucky, you get an early access link. How was it for you when you started wearing sneakers?
We just went to a store, and that was it. Or travel. The U.S. was you know, it was always the big market for us. But other than that, it was just going to a store.
And
if you were lucky to know someone, but no, it was nothing like that.
For me, it was like record digging, record collecting. Like you, especially, I guess in London, there were two ways. For me, there were the two ways of doing it. You either kind of went through when I was younger, it was the regime of learning how to feel confident enough to go in certain stores, how to get to know the people working behind the counter. But that's exactly the same as record shops, you know. So you go in with your attitude and you learn how to, you know, dig through the records and not look like a fool. And the same thing was with the trainers. So that was more like earning your stripes, that you're going in, you know what you're looking for. Or the other kind of, as you said, travel, there was the golden grail of dead stock, you know, that you would go somewhere, and me going to Warsaw, although I don't think I've ever found anything in Warsaw, but there'd be you'd go on holiday somewhere and there'd be some kind of random sports shop, probably in some village, and you'd just be like, dead stock, and go in there, and suddenly you'd see these old boxes of some kind of, you know, I remember buying tiny little baby Huaraches, which, you know, must have been from, I don't know, 93, 94. They were just, this guy just had these 3 boxes of these baby Huaraches, and the whole box was amazing, the way it was decorated. And the excitement, I was just like, I think I got them for £5 each. I was just like, oh my God, you know, because you had the concept of dead stock. You just don't have that now, because everything's just, you know, it's just, you can't discover it. So it was really, as Llalla said, it was shopping. Yeah. It was literally, you had to know where to go, what the shops were, but also if you were going for very specialist stuff, yeah, it was who you knew and who would share the information with you, that there would be, you know, an edition coming out, and maybe put a pair under the counter for you if you were lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what my question would be for you. Like, how did you know when? Because now it's like it's pre-announced. We know online, like, oh, on that and that day, this shoe is dropping. How did you know what was dropping?
I always had someone around me who knew what was gonna be. I mean, it was nothing back then. You had like what, one Air Max a year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, yeah. Of course you know. Yeah. It was totally different. Now you have 10 releases every year. Oh my God, there's someone at the door. So it was nothing like what's going on now. And when I started traveling, yes, then you go dig and look and just go everywhere. And there was so much stock in so many stores. Now I do have a few. There's maybe 1 or 2 that I know that are still around and who still carry amazing things, but that's it. And of course, everywhere you would go, even for a weekend somewhere in France or whatever, I would always look around, always. That's the thing. Yeah. And sometimes you have good surprises, you know?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that was the joy of it, because what we were into was not necessarily what somebody in München was into, or some random places, or so that was the joy of it, was just being able to spot something, a little gem there in your size.
Exactly. What's your size? You said you're
42.
42? Yeah. That's a good size.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
See, I'm looking at Carmen's feet, and I would love to have little feet. With me,
that's what I said to Selwa. Yeah, everything looks nicer and smaller feet. But, but I think there's 8 men, 8, 41. Yeah, but it's good. So you have the men releases.
See, you love dunks, and I love dunks, but dunks always look like boats on my feet. Mm-hmm. So, especially when they aged a bit and they'd collapse, and then I just have these
very flat.
So dunks were always painful. And Air Force Ones I love, but they also look massive on my feet.
When you have long feet, it's a disaster.
Because you really don't like Air Force Ones, right?
I really don't. No, Air Force One dunks is too flat. It's flat.
Not on your
it's
foot,
long.
Or in general.
And I mean, I don't like the silhouette, and it looks like shit on me, and it's not comfortable. I mean, for me, for my foot, I have broken foot, so No, it's way too flat. I need things on the sole.
That's what I feel whenever I wear like some sort of Air Max or like Yeezys as well. It's like, the comfort is mad. Like I have a 90 that's like my producer shoes. Whenever I have gigs or running around, it's like I wear an Air Max 90 because if I do that on a dunk, it's like
no,
you
you
break
can't.
your neck and
It's too heavy.
Yeah, especially the ones that release now. The comfort is even worse from the ones I got back in the US as well. Yeah, it's like I miss the love that they put in the shoe.
But your Reebok, the few, I mean, those ones are probably the most beautiful silhouette, in my opinion, of any shoe, and one of the most comfortable.
And it really looks comfy. I never tried them on, but it looks really comfy.
They're really, and just the way you put them, they go on so easily.
Like a
That's
sock.
the thing.
Well, not with everybody. I was struggling to get this one on, but
you're pregnant. You've got an
my belly's in the way.
Yeah. But also, they were the only ones that I could ever wear with. I'm not really a dress or a skirt wearer, but I used to wear long denim skirts with those ones.
Yeah.
They kind of, I don't know, I used to have a black colourway and the blue and red colourway, and I just I loved them. I never pumped them up though, did you?
No, it doesn't really work, does it?
Mine works.
Yeah?
But I have like a wide and high foot, so it's...
Mine are always fully pumped, I guess, then.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, 'cause I also wear them with like more formal occasions, like Christmas and stuff like that, then I wear those.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, they just feel a bit more dressed somehow.
Because they haven't got the laces, I think. Maybe that's what it
Yeah,
is.
There's a lot of design in these as well, with the materials and like a wild sole and then the pump and the elastics. These are comfortable. You never owned a pair?
No, never.
Do you wear Reebok or?
I like the classics one, that's it. But they look cute. They look very cute. I don't know if it's my style.
Yeah, that's another thing.
But they look cute.
Sweet. I wanted to wear these, but then I had to. I'll wear them to Sneakerjagers with none other sportswear brands on top.
You always say that you're going to wear them one episode
but now I have the
or
right
one
trousers.
day.
I have the right because it's like a funky, wide, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Or Sunday. Tomorrow or Sunday, one of these days. I'll wear them. Promise.
Maybe then I'll wear non-Nike one day as well.
See?
Maybe. Yeah. But you were saying that back then that you have different styles per city. How would you describe then the styles in each of your cities when you were growing up? And how? I mean, now everybody dresses the same, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how different it was. I mean, we were talking about the TN.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I agree. I don't think there was difference in actual style that much.
Yeah.
I think that we had rules. Subcultures were a lot more defined, and you had allegiance to the music or the scene that you were in. And I was trying to explain to Carmen that when you live in a city of, I don't know, Paris is also kind of 7-8 million, London's 12 million. The trainers were a very quick way to identify fellow souls, people that you knew were in the same scene as you or music. Yeah. You could just tell a lot by a person instantly by the shoes they were wearing, and that was because the rules by which you operated within your subcultures, the subcultures still existed and were quite contained. Now, of course, they're big and they've merged, but TNs were... but this is later. So, I mean, when I was growing up, it was more that you had the rules. And I was also saying about coming from a hip-hop background, but then getting pulled along by the whole, you know, rave and house and drum and bass wave that went through London and the UK. And that was really interesting because stuff like MX 95 were very much part of the kind of house and drum and bass scene. So there were allegiances that you could tell by what people were wearing, what they were into. Yeah. But TNs became, for me, the Paris shoe. That's the shoe that was adopted by
the youth.
The youth, and in London it was more of a South London thing. But I mean, there's a guy called Chris Allen, who was also part of Crooked Tongues back in the day, and he was. He was the champion of
Mm.
TNs. You know, he had all these. He absolutely adored them, and that was he he was I think a Croydon boy. He'll kill me if he's not. But it was a South London thing. It didn't really go into North London.
And what about, so how would you define South London? Is it like more gangsterish?
I don't know. I'm from Southwest London, so there's a lot of rivalry between the North and the South.
Of course.
I would say the South Londoners were always, well, you could always tell a South London girl because her voice would be deeper, which confuses me when you come to Amsterdam. But yeah, they were just maybe a bit, were they harder, the South Londoners? I don't know. It's really hard to, I don't know. North London was also very sketchy, so all parts of London were dodgy.
I feel South London is more soulful somehow.
Sorry?
More soulful.
Soulful?
Somehow. Yeah. And also because there's no undergrounds, right?
That's a really
so you
good
had,
point,
you had like
Karen.
the buses connecting.
Yeah,
sorry,
you had to work harder to get around.
Yeah, and you had to swap buses, so it's more intimate, more.
That's a really good point,
driven.
and also more isolated in that respect. That there wasn't much crossing over of areas. I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good point.
If you move around from one place in South London to the other, today still you have to take like a few buses and change.
it takes a long time.
Whereas if you're in the tube, you probably can have one line with like a shitload of tourists joining you along the way, and then reaching your other location.
That's a really good point.
So more I feel, but I've only lived there for a bit, but I feel it's more community driven than the rest of London. I don't know how that translates to style.
Well,
though,
that's a good point. There was definitely less people would move to live in South London. They'd move, like students would move to North London because they'd want to be in North London, whereas South London was always, a little bit maybe too rough for a lot of people. But I went to Goldsmiths as well, so I grew up in Southwest London and then I studied in New Cross, Brockley, Lewisham area, which was also really sketchy in 1990, early 90s. But Paris always felt, for me, like it had more, I guess that's really cheesy to say it, I don't know, the Parisians just carried off the style. It was always a bit more, it wasn't as cheesy as the Londoners. That whole scene was especially the early 90s French hip hop as well. It just had its own kind of swagger. It was very cool. I think so too. Yeah.
But the TN is how can I say that? It always had very, very bad reputation.
Oh really?
Yes. If you were a TN, you were selling drugs in the suburbs, or you were just a bad person. Yeah. It was
so it wasn't like the Amsterdam kind of
super stereotype. That's why I never wore TN when I was young.
Yeah, a lot of kids weren't allowed to wear them from their parents, right?
It was the bad show. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But in London you have the 110, where it's associated with like drug dealing, and then
the 110.
Yeah, that's a nickname for the 95, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that was on the reissue rather than the. I don't remember that association on the first time round. So maybe, and then I left in 2002. So then I've missed out on a lot of what's been happening in London. But I don't remember the associations with the shoes that much. But maybe I just wasn't not getting a bit older, so not involved in those kind of generations anymore.
So how about crook tongues? You already mentioned it, but I thought, in my opinion, I even seen like crook tongues collapse, right? So what?
Could we maybe, for those who hear this and it's like crooked tongues,
yes.
What is crooked tongues?
I was going to ask that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was. I'm going to put it in context. I was lucky enough to. Spend some time as part of the Crooked Tongues crew at a really interesting point of their development. So I'd got involved mainly through Spine Magazine, which was a hip-hop digital magazine that was being written by Unorthodox Styles. That was the group behind Spine and Crooked Tongues. And Crooked Tongues had been set up by Chris Allen and also a couple of other characters, Chris Law, A-Side, Steve Bryden. And it was literally a point in time in sneaker history where it had changed into quite really specific collecting with very cliquey actually. And Crooked Tongues was the London chapter. And then you had equivalent things going on in Tokyo with Atmos. You had A-Life with Rivington store there. And then you also had Foot Patrol was going on in London. So it was these cliques of people really, really getting into their trainers and also collaborating with each other. And Crooked Tongues essentially was writing about it and having a forum. And it was you know, the first time these things had gone online where people could discuss this culture. But the rules by which, I forgot about Kev Friel as well. Kev Friel's very important in this. They all had their own favourite models that they were into, and they established this concept of having an online site where you could get these very, very limited editions. So it was really kind of indulging you in what we take for granted now, which is this issue, this is the history of it, this is why it's so exclusive, you can get it, you can also talk about it. So it was, I'd say, quite pioneering in that respect of harnessing a community together. But it was also a curse for me because the rules by which sneaker collecting operated in their world was so specific that it kind of got indoctrinated in me. And it's been really difficult on so many levels to let go of as you get older. It's still there on many different things. Sorry, does that give you a good explanation? I just got lost in my own words.
No, it's sick because I think that, I don't know around which time that was.
This will be, it started in 1999 and I jumped in and out. I eventually left in 2002. So, yeah, it's that phase.
Yeah, because I think around that time a lot of like forums and stuff started popping up. And it's just a different way of how people interact with one another in sneaker culture right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because before that it was literally, as Llalla said, you went in the shop and it was verbal, or you know, people telling you about it. You couldn't connect with other collectors in that way, or you'd have to physically. I mean, I moved here in 2002 and I was saying to Carmen, it's like I had, you know, the guys said to me, I didn't know anybody in Amsterdam. We moved here just blind, as it were. And I knew Jason, but the only other person was Edson on a piece of paper, because Edson had come in one day into the Crooked Tongue office, and then somebody was like, yeah, Edson lives in Amsterdam, Edson, Fat Beats, you know, and that was how you were meeting people. So it was so analog in that respect. You know, now it is amazing how it all evolved, you know, as an international community. And yeah, I guess that those were the beginnings. And the collaborations was really interesting because that was the first time that you would start having these Atmos dunks, or, you know, the A-Life collaborations, or, you know, so that was also the beginning of that. And as Llalla said, not, you know, 15 a year, but it would happen once a year and it would be a really, really big deal. So, yeah.
Nice, sick. So Llalla, how is that for you? Because you mentioned that you don't really have a lot of like people who you connect with on sneakers and stuff. How did you then get into it, and did you have like a community of people around you, or?
Like, you mean today or before?
Before.
No, I never really. I mean, I was never really talking or mixing with people who were into sneakers. My friends at school, because we were like looking for the same stuff or talking about it, but it was never, I don't know how to explain it. It was never a topic, you know. I was into sneakers because I like sneakers, and that was it. And I wouldn't really socialize with anybody else because this person was into sneakers. I could care less what you were into. All my close friends have nothing to do with this thing, and it's cool. And yeah, today it became this huge community thing, and I'm just that's what I was saying last night. Like, if I was on Instagram, I wouldn't know anything about what's going on these days. Like, I was in shock when I started. I've never been on social media or anything like that, and when I started this thing, I was like, wow, this is what's going on here. And I'm still in shock about how it grew. and what it's become. It's a totally different thing, totally different.
How do you both feel about it now? Knowing how you grew up, how you described it earlier, like going to the shop, knowing somebody, you digging into the history and the stories and how things were made. And if you look at today's culture.
I don't know. I feel like it's become a... It's just, it's hard to define. It's like real estate or something. I don't know.
I mean, I'm like you.
I don't understand.
It doesn't matter to me what other people are. It's always been a really personal thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So my friends can wear. Sorry, I'm fiddling with the mic. My friends can wear what they want. It's not going to. That's another conversation though that we also touched on, trainers. But I agree with you. I think there's a sadness that now these products come out and they're just bought in order. It's like crypto. It's like kind of bought and it's going to be traded, and that seems to be the driving force behind it. Is how to make money from it, and actually the history of it, or just the appreciation of the design, or just the joy, the simple joy of oh my God,
it's gone.
Yeah, I think that's that there is a sadness in that. I guess it's just become, and I think that's. Yeah, I mean,
it's just like another product of, like, I don't know, cameras, pants, chairs. It's just it lost everything to me. And even the collabs don't make any sense. Like Travis Scott, how can you how could I like, I don't even know this man, you know? I didn't grow up listening to that. How old is he? 20 years old? I don't know.
No clue.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's just no, I can't relate anymore.
So what?
And the more you talk about something, the more I'm like, I can't.
Funnily enough, Llalla, I'd say the ACG and the Terex collections are the only ones where it feels like they're not observed in order to be sold. And still, those that you know, and I have a kind of with the ACG and the Terex especially, like some of the recent Terex designs, I really like them. And the fact that I can buy them at a reduced price, and nobody seems to appreciate the fact that they're Gore-Tex, or that they're really comfortable, that they've got this amazing colorway. It feels like those two areas are still untouched and still pretty pure, and that the design and technology is driving it, as opposed to the kind of.
I really hope it's gonna stay as such. Yeah, kids are not really into that. Thank God. I mean, unless there's gonna be some crazy collab with some fancy name. Other than that, no, I don't see them wear that. No.
Well, the newer generation is more into, well, of course, into names, but also into sustainability and doing things right. And I do see outerwear being more like promoted now as well, being more fashionable. I think ACG is becoming pretty popular as well these days.
Yeah, but still,
it's a different.
I feel like it's for an older crowd. You know, I would never see. I mean, I don't expect to see a 16-year-old kid wearing some ACG jacket or hat. I really don't. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen it.
But I think some of their apparel is quite flashy, though.
It is.
Like a bit, maybe not youthful, but I mean, I wear some stuff, you wear some stuff.
But I'm 36, so I'm not 16.
Yeah, okay. But like, I think that outdoor brands are very popular. If you see like Arc'teryx and all those kind of things.
They are.
It's just not the shoes, maybe. Yeah, Solomon. But it's also quite expensive.
Yeah, but still, it's still like a little older.
Yeah, more matured audience maybe.
Yeah.
I'm also curious. This is called the Queens and Sneakers Show. I'm 36, and I remember I lived in a village countryside Holland. That growing up as a girl on sneakers, people still used to like make all these remarks like, "Why don't you wear normal shoes? Isn't that what a girl's supposed to wear?" You grew up like in the cities, which is different than my context. But how was it for you? And now it's very common for girls to wear sneakers from any age, I think. probably in all of the countries that we are originally from. How was it? How were you seen when you started wearing sneakers back in London or back in Paris?
Was it a problem to you?
I was definitely. Nobody teased me about it. People commented on it the whole time. I became labelled really quickly as, you know,
the girl with sneakers.
And I was saying, yeah, and I was saying to Carmen that I have a really good friend of mine, and I was in a girls' school. He was in a boys' school, and we obviously used to have to wear uniform. And the one day where we didn't have to wear uniform, I had a pair of. I'm very proud of my shell toes with the red stripes, white ones. And there was a lot of comment. What are those? Why have you got rubber on the end? You know, it was like they were. Everybody was just like, what are they? But I was going to wear them, and I wore them with my chin up high. And I remember that Jake came out of school wearing the same pair out of his boys' school. And I remember I was looking through crowds, the same shoes, and that was the thing. It was still so rare to wear trainers every day that you could just spot somebody a mile off. And for me, that became a label that has stuck with me. I was saying to Tommy that, still at the age of 50, my friends will send me photos. Ania, got a new pair, what do you think? And it's like, I guess, you know, I've learned it's part of my identity. It's something that I've sometimes struggle with the older I get because of the consumerism of it and what message are you passing on to, you know, what message am I passing on to my daughters, you know? But it's always been, I've never had a problem with it. I've had a problem with how to, you said going, if you dress formally, that's been tricky. Like how can I then, I feel so dollied up if I'm wearing fancy shoes. Yeah, it's never been an issue for me. I have an issue with men and shoes, that's for sure, but that's another.
That's an interesting one.
That's another one, yeah. So, do you want me to go into that one quickly? I was interested what Llalla said.
Interesting.
I mean, I've never judged any female friends on what they're wearing on their feet. Absolutely no issue with it. They can wear what they want. But men and shoes, I find so difficult because I can judge a man by his shoes, and I'm not saying that I'm the right judge of character, so I'm not saying that I know something that they don't. It's just, as I was saying, the crooked tongues programming, certain rules that were put in me. And so I can meet a man and he could be the most gorgeous man in the world, but if those trainers are even slightly wrong, that's it, you know?
I understand very well.
I hate that fact. I hate it because it would make life so much easier if you could just ignore what those shoes are and what they mean in your head.
But it's character, right? So like a lot of people, I do the same. A lot of people say like, but it's just a shoe. But it's, for me, it's like a lifestyle. It's what you're into. Is how you look at the world even. So I think by reading, like, you can't change your face. So I'd rather look at your shoe because that's your character that you put in a piece of rubber.
Well, for me, and if you go back to this point of where are we now in relation to sneakers, now sneakers are design objects. They are, you know, I like the colourway, I like the style, it fits in with my fashion. For me, sneakers are, I was really, really into this type of music. I then hung out in this part of London, and my allegiance is this, and this is why I wear this shoe. So it's really difficult for me to ignore that if somebody's wearing a different, it's just like those are the signals I'm picking up on. So the wrong shoe can completely confuse me, and I can't look at it objectively. It's completely subjective with all the prejudice I have in me about the shoe.
I agree with that. Yeah. Very, very much. And you were talking about music, and it's the same for music. I would never be with someone who doesn't know and appreciate what I'm into, music. It's like impossible.
Because
impossible.
I don't think you have to, I mean, I think you should like have some like respect to what the other person is into, but I don't think you have to completely understand, because my boyfriend really doesn't understand why I'm buying yet another pair of shoes, or because he's really into style and his shoes are always on point.
But Maricha, can he appreciate the pair that you bought? I know he might not get why you need another pair, but can he appreciate why you chose the pair that you bought?
But if I explain, so with the wave, he's like, everybody wears those Air Max ones. You really shouldn't buy them because every person here on the street has them. And I'm like, okay, watch this video. So we watched the wave video, and they said, okay, yeah, I get that. But then still, we were in Amsterdam here walking around, and you saw so many people where you just don't expect the shoe maybe on to have them. And he's like, you're not allowed to buy them as a joke, obviously. I still buy them. And he lets me do my thing, but it's not like he.
Yeah, but that's something else,
understands.
though. You know, that's another debate.
I think he understands why the shoe is important to you. He just doesn't agree with the spending of the money. But for me, it's like if somebody doesn't, like Llalla said, somebody doesn't understand why or any of the basis of why. Yeah, I mean, music and sneakers is very close. It's very close. It's the same thing. It's like, but why? For me, the worst case is if a boyfriend says, "But they're really ugly. Why are you wearing them?" That is a really difficult one for me, because then it's throwing me into a really difficult situation where half of me is like, but I want to look pretty, and they think they're ugly, and the other half is like, fuck this, these are made by so-and-so, they represent this, I know what they mean, and I'm going to wear them. And that's the problem. I don't want to have those conversations where I'm doubting why I decided to wear the ones I'm wearing. But we were going as far as, with dating apps, with a couple of friends, that it's impossible. Dating apps are a failure in our opinion, because you can't see the shoes. So I was talking to, there's a guy called Lee Hempstock here in Amsterdam, and also I don't know if you've been listening to the Out of Home boys. So Out of Home, I was talking to them as well, and we came up with this idea of a dating app called Soulmates. And basically what you do is, rather than having photos of yourself, you do like 5 pairs of your favourite trainers, and that's what you judge your match on. So if there's anybody out there that wants to develop it,
that's pretty interesting.
Then we should do so, because
or like a show, and you can only see each other's feet, like shoes, of course, not feet.
Yeah, but you'd be able to. If somebody laid out 5 shoes in front of you, you'd probably be able to figure out what they listen to, what they're like.
But not again today.
Yeah.
So that's because what you were saying, that you could read somebody by the shoe. The fact that I'm wearing an Air Max 1 today doesn't make sense if you look at my consumption pattern. But then it's a pattern one, and I've been loving
But your other 4 would balance that out, Carmen.
Yeah, true.
Because I'm
very particular. But if I look around at my friends' closets and what they come up with, it's like, who the heck are you? Like, what's this for, Rachitu?
But if you had 5 pairs of shoes, right, and you've got the Wave, and then maybe you've got your Reebok pumps, and then let's say another pair of Air Max, and then suddenly you throw in, okay, let me think of something that would really, really not sit well with me. Maybe like a really, really awful Stan Smith colourway. Something awful, like it's just wrong. Then I know that it's not going to, we're not going to get on, because you chose that Stan Smith colourway, and that's one of your 5 favourites. That's what I'm thinking.
But that's a good one. I'm pretty interested. No, I'm serious. But how can you choose just 5 pairs?
Yeah, which ones would you choose for yourself?
That's a tough one. But I would. I need to think about it, though.
Can you add text to explain why certain, or you can't?
It's just
I don't know. I think it should. I think because that's the point, right? Is I think some people would be like, my 5 shoes, and then they try really hard with the 5 shoes, and they just be getting it. And I'm not, again, it's for me. So I'm sure those 5 shoes for someone else, it'll be a perfect match, and that's the joy of it. The fact that I'm, being so elitist and so demanding that they have to be exactly what I think are my, that I can relate to them, it's very, personal. But yeah, I guess that's how I see the world. I see the world by shoes and what they mean in terms of, the story they have behind. Why did that person choose that pair? And that's why I find it quite confusing in the world now, because everybody wears
anything.
the same shoes, and I can't read the people anymore because
Same.
it's not.
And it's also, we discussed it before, is like back in the day, if you owned a certain pair, you either knew and you had put the effort in, and now it's like any idiot with a certain amount of money can buy whatever shoe he or she wants because it's online there on resale coming from any place in the world. So you don't even, like, you don't know, like, who you are again, because access is everywhere as well.
But there is a part of me that's like, everybody should enjoy the joy of owning a really, really nice pair of trainers. So I think everyone should have access to it. I just think that the consumption of it is distorted now, and it's distorted in a way that is a reflection a bit of how society is.
See, I don't agree with that. I think not everybody should have access to everything.
Same.
There should be a background check. No, I'm serious.
Yeah. I love
it. Really bothers me to see, people who don't know anything about anything having like an amazing collection of pairs they don't even know where they come, what's the history behind, and they just clicked on whatever app because they were, I don't know, expensive or rare, or that really bothers me.
I really had that when Nike made that Go Fly Easy shoe, which was a shoe for people who are disabled. How much of a percentage do you think that really had a disability?
What
was a
shoe?
disabled it was a Go Fly Easy. So when it was standing like this, it was like this almost,
Oh,
and then you could.
they dropped it not so long ago.
Yeah, you could really like
that.
go into
I
with your.
never knew that was.
Yeah, it was for disabled people.
Yeah, I saw it.
But it was so hyped. It was shown everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I wonder, like, how much of a percentage of people who actually have a disability or cannot tie their laces.
Yeah.
That's a really good
bought
question.
that shoe. And in that case, I think, like, there needs to be like a filter or a system or with female drops. Like, why is it not then just really for females?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I'm still curious, Llalla, how was it for you as a girl? Because we drifted off.
Yeah.
It was.
No, that's good.
I do that a lot.
No, it was.
It was nothing?
It was nothing. Yeah. Of course, you were seen as, the girl with sneakers or sports shoes, whatever they call them. But it was not. No. I never wore anything else.
That's good.
And in junior high, again, it was, all the girls were pretty much into sneakers. I mean, I don't know what they were today, but they were all, it was so big. At the, from 1994, it was very, very big. So it was just a normal thing, But I guess a lot of them give up and just, went on something different, but I just stayed on.
How do you think your students look at you now being the teacher?
Yeah.
And with your, whatever you have going on today, like looking fly and...
Oh, it definitely helps a lot. Like very, very big time. I'm not gonna lie. and I played good too. No. It helps a lot. They see you totally differently. They give you so much credit just because you have a good pair of Nikes on there, all Nike heads. So if you have, and if I wear TN, oh my God. It's like, oh my, you're one of us now. They show you so much respect because you have good shoes on. It's crazy. They really, really judge you by the way you look, kids, 100%. And they're all into shoes, all of them. Even the ones who cannot afford it, they're all into it. So it really helped me in my job.
That's good.
It really does, every day.
I think it's also such a difference, right? Because when you think of a teacher, you assume this like type of person.
And at the same time, more and more teachers are, looking a little more relaxed in the classrooms. But yeah, it's something pretty big for them. It's funny.
There's still one thing that we haven't talked about, and I don't know, it's this topic we cannot not talk about. You, of course, are a master of air.
Oh my God.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
How did that happen?
It's always very embarrassing for me, actually.
Why is it embarrassing for
Because
you?
I feel like so many people have amazing collections too, you know? It's just, I don't know.
Mm. But I am curious though, how did that happen? Yeah.
It just happened. I had some people trying to reach out from Nike France or Nike Europe or whatever, and then I had the Nike World headquarters asking for an interview. I don't know, and then it just happened.
Mm.
They I guess they knew I was into it for a very long time, and I consume a lot of Nikes since for 30 years, and it just happened. It happened very fast.
Did you also go over there to Portland?
Yes.
And together with the other
Yes.
masters, you came up with the design, I guess, then.
Yeah, we were all invited in I don't know, 2016. Yeah, I think it was 16. We were all invited from different cities, different countries, and we all met there, and it happened.
And what was your input into the shoe? Because it's all these different.
The master one.
Yeah.
So, actually, not that much. They all asked us for our favorite Air Max ones, and mine is the mesh, the blue mesh and the red mesh, like the regular mesh ones. So all of our favorite ones are into the shoe, and it just happened like that.
Oh, sick. That's funny because actually that year we had the Amsterdam Air Max 1 pop-up shop, and that's where I met you or saw you for the first time in a panel around female sneaker culture.
Yeah, I think that's where, trying to remember, how can I forget her name?
Sorry.
Nina.
Oh,
Yeah, Nina.
Nina and I upset the crowd because there was a question about forums, and a girl said, "Yeah, I find it really, really annoying that when we go on forums and we ask the guys where we can find the trainers, the guys are really rude to us and won't tell us." And me and Nina were like, "Well, are you surprised? Like, you can't just go on there and ask stuff like that. You've got to go and do your own research and work at it. Of course, they're not just going to tell you where to go." And the younger ones, I don't know, Marcia, maybe it was in my head, the younger generation were like how uncharitable of us. So it really made me walk away thinking, wait a minute, is that how I've been taught, that you have to do it yourself? And actually maybe it should be more inclusive and more, we should share knowledge, and maybe that is weird that the girls are being kind of kicked out for the boys club, so it was also quite an interesting panel, because it made me question a lot of the stuff that I've just kind of inherited and carried along with me, let's say from a patriarchal perspective rather than a woman's one.
Maybe it's also the times, like we discussed earlier on, that back in the day you had to do all the research to be able to find the shoe that you want or to bump into a shoe that you fall in love with. Whereas now, I don't know how it was in 2016, but now is everything out in the open and accessible to everybody if there's enough money involved.
Yeah,
so
the
maybe
money.
it's a different time as well of getting access to shoes and what it costs you to get the access.
I think that's maybe what Nina and I were reacting against, was that question felt like it was like, where can I buy it?
Yeah.
as
opposed to where can I
learn.
learn and come in contact with it?
And fall in love with it and then wanting it.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I do think that sometimes people also ask me, like, where can I buy this or that? And if you're really not in the know, then I guess we follow these Instagrams and you see everything. But if you don't know any of those Instagrams, you still need to, I guess, do a little bit of digging
Yeah.
on where to go to.
But if you're already in a forum, then you kind of know-ish in the
Mm.
community.
I always hated that on Facebook when they started creating Facebook groups, and then you had the basement from London, and whatever girls said or did, there were always boys making like shitty comments or
Oh, really?
objectifying them or something else, and then they started the female version that was really nice, sort of like a safe space.
See, that's the thing that bothers me, this division.
Mm.
I never felt it when I was young. And now it's all about women sneaker, women this, men that. It's just, I find it
Yeah,
funny.
but your size is
And I have a good size, yes.
that helped.
So I never had to struggle with like having small feet is a disease, yeah. But I never felt this thing, you know, that everybody talks about today. Oh, what do you feel about women in sneakers? I'm like, it's just, I don't see gender, you know. I mean, unless you're into pink shoes or I don't know.
That was
It's
the
just
thing
it's
back
just
in the
funny
day,
to me.
with all the dunk releases for women. They were all slim soles, narrow.
Yeah, it's fucking
and I have like
ugly.
a freaking wide and high foot. I'm like, I don't want this. And then it
I
was
remember
like
those.
pink. I'm like, what's going on? I don't want these.
Yeah.
I just want a men's shoe.
I couldn't fit in any of the women's shoes. Never went
Oh,
up
yeah,
to
they were-
42.
yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was just like always men's shoes for
Yeah.
me.
Doesn't it go all the way to 44 now,
think
women's
probably
stuff?
Today,
yeah.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
I
could
remember I
care
had
less if
the-
it was women, men. I mean, a
There
shoe
was
is
a
a
fuss
shoe.
about the Lucky Greens, right? The Jordan 1s, Lucky Green. I was in London at the time, and I was walking down the road, and then a boy on a step was passing me, and I think they ran up to 44 or something, and then he was cracking a joke about it being a women's shoe, but then him wearing it, and I was wearing it too. That his
Okay.
like, foot would fit a women's release. It's like, come on, just have them in all sizes, and not tell me that I, as a girl, should like pink or thinner soles. Like I can decide that myself, right?
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
all
very,
another
it's
politics.
just being very small-minded.
yeah. We almost up to an hour.
Okay.
Do you have some of the?
Yes, I do.
March always has nice statements that we can agree or disagree with, or yes or no questions at the end of the show.
Okay. White or black sneakers, trainers?
White or black?
Yeah.
White.
Yeah, I'm going to say white. I mean, black is more practical, but there's something quite limiting when you just wear completely black. I feel it's like there's not that. It's
It
just
looks-
like white just has a bit more. I don't know. God, that's a really difficult one to explain.
No, it's just to me, it's a trainer, as you call him, has to be white. That's the number one color for sneakers.
I've
I
only
think
ever
so.
I've only ever owned one black pair. I mean, these are white and black, and that was bizarrely black cleather New Balance, and that must have been like in 92, 93. There you go. That's how anti all black. Although, you know, if it was the right, although the Pump Fury, I just said I had Pump Furies in black, so I'm lying. They worked in black.
Yeah.
That's
And
just because the
'cause it's-
silhouette was so
mhm.
good, and it had different.
Materials,
Like, yeah.
probably.
You
you're
know,
white.
white. I think what you would like. I feel what you were saying with, you know, when you get a fresh pair of sneakers out of the box, the white is still so fresh and white. I think for me, definitely need like a white. I like my sneakers to have a white base always.
Yeah.
With one or two extra colors, but not too much going on. Like no fresh and yeah. Black feels like it doesn't feel fresh, though they're fresh from the
You
box,
wouldn't-
but it
you-
doesn't
you-
feel.
And you don't feel comfortable wearing them in the summer. That sounds so lame, but they kind of, to me, it's like I wouldn't. They're just quite a commitment. They feel like a commitment.
Yeah.
All black trainers.
If I think about London and trainers today, though, especially about school uniforms and trainers, I do have to think of a low Air Force One black.
Ugh.
Yeah,
For me, that's a London shoe.
Yeah,
somehow.
because you
So
need to
bad.
wear
That's
black
a school
shoes.
uniform.
Yeah.
That is definitely a school uniform.
Yeah.
But whereas I think of TNs as all black,
Yeah.
to me that's a kind
Yeah?
of
You?
Black. I would do black. I don't have much white shoes, to be honest. I always need to have like a good black pair of shoes that goes with anything, and then I don't wear them because I wear stuff with color. I prefer stuff with color. Than, yeah.
And now you have a very bright color and a black shoe and a black sock.
Yeah, but it's because of the print and it's
It's not
tacky.
black enough.
No, I do have all full black ones as well. Well, this to me is a black shoe, even though it has a white midsole.
To me as well.
Okay, since you've both been in the sneaker game for so long and probably have a lot of shoes, I was wondering if you store everything at home or you have a storage unit?
Home.
Yeah, I haven't got that many to put in the storage unit. I have a room and they're all stacked up on top of a wardrobe in boxes. Yeah.
So how do you then like go through?
Oh, I can't. If I want a pair, I have to move everything. my thing is like Tetris, you know, it's like...
Yeah, I agree. And you move one and the whole box, the whole...
So I don't. I just grab the easiest pile. And I get too lazy of moving the furniture and then moving the pile and the other pile and then getting it. I just give up. I live in a very small apartment too, so it is what it is. And I have boxes all the way to up to my kitchen.
Do you ever
behind
go
the
through
doors, everywhere.
Just like even the ones, because you shared on Instagram a pair that you've been wearing and they're like super old. Do you like go through your old shoe boxes and like dig up those memories, or just for the fun of it, or are they just there?
They're just there.
Okay.
No, I don't really open old boxes, and usually I don't like what I see inside.
It's a
But you still
crumbled,
keep them?
yeah.
Oh, because they crumbled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say I've got like 5 or 6 on rotation that I keep downstairs and rotate, and then the rest are upstairs, and I'll pull out the odd one. I'll be like, because I don't know, that's a question maybe to you, Llalla, and to you ladies, like if when you get up in the morning and you decide what you're going to wear, does it start with which trainers you're going to wear first and then the rest of the outfit, or is it the other way around?
It depends. Sometimes I have a pair in my mind and I'm like, all right, I want to wear it today, so I'll just start with it. Sometimes the other way around. Like I really want to wear that sweater, and then it really depends.
Yeah.
What about you?
With me, it's usually the weather. I look at the weather and then I'm like,
The weather
I'm
is
going
something
to wear
else.
this pair.
Okay.
And then the rest start. So yeah, I do think they start off.
Shoes.
Usually the shoes start. But I have a rotation of, let's say, 5 or 6 that are for that month or the winter.
Okay.
And then different ones that I'll pick out depending on a outfit. But I think that most of them get worn at least once a year at some point.
Oh my God, I wish. No, some boxes I haven't touched in maybe 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then sometimes I sell them if I really haven't worn them that long.
No, I can't. If I was for 10 years, oh my God, I would never.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have that many shoes that I've had from the start until now. Maybe a couple, but like a few along the way.
Because it means that you're
sold.
never going to wear them and you're not interested in them.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a different story.
Because I try to do these challenges for like a month and then wear a different pair each day so that I get my rotation up and going. But it needs to be a month where the weather is nice, because otherwise in the first week you go through all your like rain shoes and stuff. So it's quite tricky, and then you need to keep track of all the shoes that you've worn and you cannot wear anymore. And in the end of the month you have an event, so you need to keep those aside. But
And you guys have a horrible weather.
yeah.
I just keep repeating it, but it's true. How can you wear anything? It rains every day here.
Well, we haven't been out much the last 2 years, so I've only been wearing my slippers in the house.
But dirty shoes is to me a cultural Dutch thing.
I don't mind dirty shoes.
Yeah, so I think people, I put these on when I got in, but I think people would wear these now outside when they're cycling or walking around, or like is...
So my question is it acceptable for you ladies to spray with the waterproof crepe spray?
No, not the crepe spray, because it's too. So I'm very particular in which brands I like, which sprays I like, because the crepe is a bit too. How do you say that? It's really not natural. The smell and everything.
Invasive. If it gets in your eye, your eyelashes suddenly join.
So, for example, Jason Mark and like Defense is a bit more sustainable and biodegradable, so I would use those.
Okay.
I don't use any spray. I just done that too because I've been fucking up shoes in the past. So it's like, let me just leave them the way they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you use anything?
Yeah.
I'd say 3/4 I do, but I've also had the same as you where, these ones I haven't sprayed. There's a few which are more fabric based that I'm too scared.
And even when it's mixed materials, I'm like, nah, let me just leave it. Just be safe, because for sure I put something wrong on it and then party done.
But it is.
No.
But with those old shoes, I wouldn't do it anyway.
I don't know. I never tried.
And I don't really believe it helps, to be honest. I think the wind and the rain or whatever is gonna go through anyway, so. But that's just me.
I always hope it just helps with the cleaning process.
Yeah, you look after your shoes well. I'm less caring.
Sometimes. Some particular ones, yes. But I think the red ones I would wear, the red wave patas I would wear in this weather. Because it's smooth leather, so it's fine, and this is suede.
Is it real leather? Actually?
I think so.
Must be. I wouldn't want to say it.
I
It's very
don't know.
thin and
I really don't know. I was wondering if it's real. Okay.
Okay, I have one more. Starco, Bata, or Foot Patrol?
You already know. Star Cow, of course.
And can
I'm
you
from
tell
Paris,
me yeah. Can you tell us a bit why? Like, why do you love Starco so much?
Because I love the boys, and they've been in the business since the beginnings, and they've always had the good stuff that we want, and they became friends, and I think they're still relevant today.
Cool.
So that's the only store I really go to.
Do you still have their women's store?
Yes. Still there.
Okay. Nice. Ania?
Yeah, Pata. I think for exactly the same reasons. It's Edson and G, and I was lucky enough when I moved over that I was writing for a Japanese magazine for a while called Shift, and I did an interview with Edson when I think he was maybe still at Fat Beats or had just left, and him and G were talking about this idea of a brand called Pata, and just hearing them back then with all their dreams and ambitions and seeing what they've created, and also, when what they're giving back also to the next generations, I think is really cool. So, yeah, I choose them.
Nice. I've thrown in Foot Patrol because
Foot Patrol. I mean, that was that's a very important store on the London map, but it kind of I was leaving just as it really, really kind of gained more ground. So I can't pledge allegiance to Foot Patrol really.
And it's even in Paris now as well, I guess. Yeah, it's different because it's been bought, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised they expanded like that. Yeah.
Well, I don't have to ask that question to you.
I mean, everybody's into Pata in this country, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
of
I don't know about
course.
people in Rotterdam because it has like a strong Amsterdam flavor to it.
Which one?
Does
Rotterdam.
Does
like,
Rotterdam
I don't know how
have a...
alive Pata is in Rotterdam. I know it's alive in like outside countryside or Utrecht or something.
I
but
think it's super big.
Yeah, it is big.
I think it's also big in Rotterdam.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. You see a lot of people wearing
But then you have Wui as well.
But it's different because they are not as invested in or different with the community.
Yeah.
Their merch is not as extensive and all that stuff. They haven't had a collab in a long time. And
Though, yeah. I have been wearing pata for quite some time, but I did struggle with entering those stores, Foot Patrol in London as well. Like, you know, the attitude that can be around those shops in those days. Back in the day, I was kind of scared to walk into pata and buy a shoe, because
I know, I hear a lot of stories like
I was
that.
just like, I'm just gonna walk in, ask my size, and get a shoe, but I wasn't always too comfortable. Of course, it changed over time, and I was like early 20s.
Yeah, but that I think that aspect of the culture, I think, is good that it's gone, because it was really
Yeah.
it was really
It's not
elitist.
fully gone yet, though.
Yeah, I mean it was.
No.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's with anything. It's the same with records. I mean, I used to be terrified going into record shops. In fact, I was teaching my 16-year-old daughter how to put her face on going in a record shop. I was like, right, we're going to go in here, and you know, like, don't shame
Act
me.
as if you know what you're
Go
doing.
in, like, and choose where you're going to go, and then
Yeah.
you look. You know, that's terrible to have to teach somebody how to hold their own, and you know, so. I think that's in any kind of scene where people get particularly into it, they're going to intimidate others. It's that pecking order, isn't it?
I've never really had that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was scared to go into a store. Also in Food Patrol, I was always just talking to the people who work there, and Starco, same. I've never really
but
had
some
that.
people feel a little intimidated though. I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
And even when I was young, you know, some of the girls were like, "Oh no, I'm not going inside. Just go, we'll wait for you." I was like, "Why?" You know, it's like a men world, and I don't know. Maybe if you're not wearing the right thing, they might look at you a little off. I don't know.
But that's the thing, Llalla. Like you were
It's just
asking
weird.
me about. I mean, that I never. There was a certain kind of. Middle finger up or fuck you-ness of knowing that you could. Again, I'm not saying that I always wore the right trainers, but I knew which ones were right for me in those moments in time, and there was the confidence that I could get from wearing something that I knew certain people would pick up on, and
that's
and
what
the
I always
quality.
did.
Yeah, and that did give me confidence, because I wasn't a very. I guess I was really into the stuff I was into the music and the trainers, and I wanted to be judged on that. I didn't want to be judged on what I was like as a woman. Maybe that sounds really weird, but I wanted to be judged on different aspects of my femininity, like my good trainers, rather than how my hair looked, maybe. I don't know. But it was, that gave me the confidence to go in those shops.
Okay.
Because sometimes you could go in and literally wrong foot whoever was working there, because they didn't know what you had on your feet. That was always a good feeling.
Yeah.
So, but that's also being elitist in another way. So, yeah, it's all very confusing as you get older. You start going back and thinking, okay, what was that about, and what did that cause, and
So sneakers give you confidence.
Yeah, I think they gave me an identity. I mean, I was in some situations, especially in London. In those years, and what I was doing with the athletics and stuff, I was being put in situations where I had to hold my own and not look like a complete fool. So having the right trainers on just gave me a bit more grounding, that people kind of maybe, you know, it's that same thing, they'll pick on somebody else. It's as simple as that. So that gave me the confidence to be able to go in places where maybe if I was dressed differently, I would have more of a hard time. I don't know, or it could just be, you know, that it's all about attitude. Those, you know, London in the late 80s and early 90s was also about women. There was a lot of, you know, hip hop coming over, and also the LA all girl gangs. There was a lot of it suddenly was about women being able to gain respect and be judged on other things. So it's all about your standing. And I think trainers for me tied into all of that, which was this identity of equality. It wasn't about being better than the men, but it was just being judged on equally.
Same grounds.
Yeah. So I think it was all tied into probably where my head was at that point.
Do we do shout outs or?
Well, maybe you're speaking, well, when this is being shown online, you've already had your talk, but you're speaking some more at sneakerness.
Yes, I am.
So to round up, maybe we could do some shout outs, and like you're here for a reason. You've shared a lot already, Ania. You're gonna speak tomorrow at sneakerness as well, like, so you're in the industry for reasons and loving the shoe. So yeah, maybe a final shout out in the cameras that are all directed towards
So
us.
shout out to who?
To anybody watching, to yourself,
My God.
to anybody who wants to have in your DM or not, or you know, or you if you.
Where they can find you.
Yeah.
I'm not good with that. Where they can find me? I don't really care about that.
Okay,
You
so
know?
let's say that. A shout out to yourself, maybe.
Shout out to all the real heads and people who try and keep it real, even in 2021 when the game is falling apart. That's it.
That's a good one.
Very good.
Anya?
Oh
what
my
do you
God, the
want-
pressure
which-
on the shout out.
Which men with the right shoe?
Yeah, to all the men out there, send me 5 pictures of your shoes. No. Who can I? I've got
I
this-
really want to do something with that. I like this idea.
I'm going to make it work. I'm going to.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to the right people, see what we can do. Oh my God, I can't think of who to shout out to because there's been so many people that deserve to have shout outs.
Don't do anybody there before
No.
this one.
I'll just shout out to obviously Jason Fulton and Neil Henry and Lee Hempstock for the Soulmate app idea. We'll do that, and my daughters, of course. That's it. God, that's a terrible shout out. That's just made me look completely 50, hasn't it? It's like the granny shout out.
There's only a few people that are like, shout out, okay, that have the shout out ready. So.
Oh God,
No,
and
it's
Jake.
so many
How can I,
names.
sorry, I have to put Jake in there. My
Oh, yeah.
my oldest and dearest, Jake Noakes. Anyway.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay, that was it, guys. Our 3rd episode of the 2nd season. Thank you for watching till the end, and we'll see you next one.